We know.
The 10, whatever.
We
Hello.
Welcome. Hey, shh, Kevin, we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Story on the Spot. This is a grand... Kevin muted himself. Thank you for that. This is a grand storytelling experiment where me and 3 or 4 or 5 or however many other authors we can get to come in here will join us, and I am going to read some story prompts, and then everyone is going to pitch their version of the story. You watching or listening can comment. Also, a couple bits of housekeeping around up here at the front. Make sure you're visiting storyonthespot.live to learn more about the show, and that's where you can see all of our websites and past episodes and stuff. Also, there is the Matter of the Week 7 winner, and it was very close, but it was R.A. McGee.
Hey!
Mr. Vote for Pedro himself. Let me
Hey.
introduce...
don't buy that.
I'm taking my name off this thing.
So with me today is Kevin Tumlinson, Vote for Pedro, who is Raw McGee, and also Nick couldn't think of something funny, Thacker. All right. Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good.
Bueno.
All right, everybody,
Doing.
let's jump into our first story. I'm going to share my screen here and turn off these banners, etc. Okay. So our first story today is called Mustard Demons. A writer on the New York City subway employed a novel way of protecting his personal space. The seated passenger removed a bottle of ketchup from his bag and squirted a squiggly perimeter on the floor around his seat, apparently hoping to keep fellow strap hangers away. Twitter erupted with funny comments after one user posted a photo, "Gotta protect yourself from the mustard demons that can't cross the barrier. New York City Transit doesn't recommend passengers follow this guy's example." What we don't get from the story is whether or not it worked. So
I'm
maybe
gonna
that's
say it
something
did.
you guys could explore. I mean, throw
He's
some
still
crap-
alive, yeah.
He's still all right. So I need one of you to step up and volunteer to be the first. Kevin, you ready to
I'll
go?
go. I'll
All
go.
right. All right,
Yeah.
what you got?
We're going to call this a case of conjuring, which I will eventually say correctly. So this is a unique and special order of a Wiccan cult that is working towards. I'm not going to go the world domination route. This time around, I think they're out to protect us from an unknown threat, and they're slowly spreading outward and going into the cities where they normally wouldn't have spent time. But they practice a special form of magic that revolves around food. And so they set up their little conjuring circles with condiments, and they can summon creatures or keep creatures at bay. And this person was actually trying to protect that entire train from a giant hot dog monster. And that's my story.
Dun, 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 giant hot dog monster.
That's a dun right there, man.
All right. Nick or RA, Mr. Pedro, who would like to go second?
I don't mind if Nick will let me go second.
This once, man. Just this once.
I appreciate your civility. So the thing about this is, like, everybody's seen the show Supernatural, right? So we all know that in folklore, placing things around the entryway to rooms, can have an effect at keeping unwanted things out, ghosts and demons and poltergeists and things like that. And it always has to do with the type of creature that you're dealing with. So, they use salt because salt's pure and it can purify ghosts and things like that. Well, what the story here doesn't tell us is our mustard hero is actually Canadian, all right, and is part of one of the First Nation tribes up there. Okay, and I don't know if you guys know, but mustard seed is the origin of most mustard seeds is Canada, and it's true. It's a true story. So they grow a lot of mustard seed in Canada. Well, the First Nations up there had always used mustard seed to keep the Wendigo at bay. To keep it away, they would put mustard seeds around the entryway to their homes and things like that. And we have a Canadian expat, and just fell upon a sordid happening of the Wendigo in New York. And so he can't get any proper mustard seed right now of the medicinal variety. So he's using regular old French's everywhere he goes to keep it at bay until he can find something stronger and combat the Wendigo. So our hero is actually fighting the Wendigo and is using every tool he can. And French's is the tool for now. So.
All right, there you go. Canadian Mustard Hero would be a good name for an action thriller series.
There you go.
All right, Nick Thacker, it is up to you to bring us home on this first story.
All right, well, gentlemen, you guys all got right now that we're dealing with is just a classic story of a hitman pair of assassins. A group of hitmen that work together. Two men, maybe a man and a woman. I haven't quite decided who my main character is. But this man is the man who marks the location of the next hit for his partner. And he does it by using ketchup. Because everybody knows that ketchup is effing impossible to clean out of anything. So, if you get ketchup in your car seat, that car seat is ketchup forever. There's no getting it out no matter what. So he goes with the dog to find the different place. He tells him generally where it is, and the dog can sniff out exactly where the location is of where they need to make their next hit. They've got it all worked out to time it down perfectly so that one can canvass the area and see where their target is going to be, what subway train they usually ride, and at what time, and then he can mark his spot. And then, of course, people will clean it up, but it never gets cleaned up well enough. And so later that week, his partner will come by, and the person sitting in that spot will be the person he has to off. So it's a way of communicating who the targets are without there being any possible way of being detected.
Very nice. So if you are watching, if you're watching live, or if you're watching not live later on, drop a comment down below and let us know whose story you liked the best. Kevin's, RA's, Nick's. Let us know.
Kevin's.
And Kevin's or Nick's or Kevin's. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next story while we wait for some of those comments. This is called Winner Winner. The Maryland Lottery said a single store sold 24 top prize-winning tickets for a bonus 5 match drawing, a total of $600,000 in prizes. Lottery officials said the Exxon and Frederick sold 24 tickets for the June 12th drawing, bearing the winning numbers 2, 9, 11, 13, 17, and the bonus ball 25. Each ticket is worth $50,000 for a total prize of $600,000. The lottery said it was unclear whether all of the tickets were purchased by a single player. So you've got some kind of weird stuff going on with this Maryland lottery. A bunch of different tickets were sold that all contain the correct numbers. And they don't know if the one person bought them all or if multiple people bought them and happened to use the same numbers. If that was true, if that was the case, it would be very strange. So who is going to be the first person to tackle this story?
I'll go first this time.
All right.
So I think that we are dealing with a person who has experimented on himself and given himself an exponentially growing intelligence, right? So he dived through the internet. He's a computer programmer type, and he essentially wrote a program kind of like the Matrix, okay? And so he kind of hooked into his VR headset, and he downloaded, all the knowledge of the ages, if you will. And so one of those knowledges was how to build algorithms and things like that. So he is getting smarter so fast that he could actually crack the numbers for the lottery. The problem is, there's a threshold for how smart you can be and not really have a lot of, common sense. The smarter that you get, you sometimes don't have social graces or kind of like intuitive thinking. And so he doesn't really realize that you probably shouldn't buy all the lotto tickets in the same place, like the same week. He just knows, I know the numbers, I'm going to be rich. And so all all of those lotto tickets were sold to the same computer programmer matrix type guy. And so the story is the cops trying to track him down before his brain kind of implodes on himself. You know, kind of like I don't know if you guys saw Lucy, but you know, she just kept getting smarter until she just blinked out of existence. And so that's what we're dealing with here. That would be the rush on the clock, trying to save this guy from a brain matter implosion.
Brain matter implosion. All right, let me put the story back up here for a few seconds. Kevin or Nick, which one of you two would like to be in the middle?
I got it.
All right, Nick.
Give Kevin the easy last softball. I think what we've clearly got here, this situation is a time travel story through and through. You've got a guy who has created a time machine, and so naturally, what do most people do when you create a time machine is you go back in time and you get the winning lotto ticket before the person who actually would have got it. So he watched the news. He saw that this place sold the ticket. It was off the beaten path, which means it doesn't sell very many lotto tickets a day. So he's like, oh, okay, this is my target. I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to go there and be the person who gets the lotto ticket before the person after me who normally would have won. So all is great. He goes and he gets the winning ticket and scratches it off. And he knows that these are
Nick, you there?
Cliffhanger.
Oh, man.
Get in the dun for that one.
Dun, dun, dun. Nick just disappeared. That's how he told us. Nick,
He time traveled.
we lost like the last 10 seconds.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Maybe. I don't know. Doesn't sound like it.
Jerks.
All right.
All right, I guess Nick's done.
You got to give him an eye for incomplete.
Yeah, Nick glitched out of
You
that
really,
test.
you really can't hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Did you hear
There we
me?
go.
Okay. All right. Because I heard everything you guys said for like I cut out on my end for some reason. So anyway, what he does is he goes back and he gets a winning ticket, and then he waits a little, and then he gets a winning ticket. He just keeps doing it over and over again. But what he doesn't realize, all right, screw it. Can't hear me anymore.
What he doesn't realize
Ridiculous.
is
What he doesn't realize is that his internet is not working. Scratches them off. And
dun, dun, dun.
Ryan's trying to give us like a mid-story extra twist prompt here.
Yeah.
But so I believe, Kevin, you were the last one to go. Let's see how your internet holds up.
Yeah. Okay. So.
No.
Okay. So. Okay. What we have here is a classic tale of fourth dimensional beings trying to make contact with our three-dimensional world. So, because of the nature, we as three-dimensional beings, we would not be able to understand or interpret anything that these beings give to us, but they're trying to warn us of an impending disaster. So they're doing so by using a code, and so they're transmitting these numbers, and people are subconsciously picking them up. So suddenly you've got lotteries are coming up with these numbers, and people are buying those tickets ahead of time because they're being influenced by this fourth dimensional being. And over time, the numbers just keep showing up. People starting to notice it as a pattern, and somebody finally cracks it and discovers that this is warning us of an oncoming disaster, and we're able to avert it at the last minute because we have that sequence of numbers.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. So let us know in the comments who you think won that round. And I am going to read our next prompt. I hope Nick can hear us because he is just a black rectangle with a white circle. This is called Sending Out an SOS. Oh, there is Mr. Thacker. Oh, and he's gone again. The mystery of a 30-year-old message in a bottle found floating in a Texas river by two boys was solved with the help of a mail carrier. A pair of boys aged 7 and 8 found a glass bottle on the bank of the Neches River in Beaumont, and inside they found a sheet of paper dated from 1989 with a man's name and address. The boys and their families attempted to contact the man, but found the address in Silsbee did not exist. A longtime U.S. Postal Service mail carrier helped solve the mystery by revealing that while the address no longer exists, the home is still standing and still occupied by the same family. I find this story fascinating that the house is there, but the address is different.
Yeah, that happens.
That's quite strange. But who would like to be the first person? Has anybody not gone first yet?
Nick.
I don't think I've gone first.
Nick, have you had time to see the story? I can see and hear you just fine.
Yeah, for now. I'll turn off my internet when I get to the punchline. I think what we've got here clearly is a situation where there was a kid who was abducted back in 1989, actually back in the early 80s. And he was abducted by a family that wanted a son, and they didn't have one. And so what they did was they kidnapped this kid, and they took him to this house that they had prepared for a long time to take off the map, to take off the grid. So this kid, being abducted and being intelligent, he figured out what the address actually should be, and sent a message in a bottle. That was the only way he could get the word out that he was here. And unfortunately, the bottle ended up floating down a river, and no one ever found it for many, many, many years. So when they go back, they find that the kid's all grown up. He's a grown-up man who lives in a creepy house with no address. And while we feel for the kid, now a man, we actually discover that there's some twisted stuff. He's actually taken matters into his own hands, and let's just say he lives in this house alone now. Dun, dun, dun.
All right. Kevin, R.A., who would like to go next?
I think I'm up for second run, I think. Okay. So I believe that this is a case of, it's a little bit of a case of time travel, but the fact is that someone in the past altered the timeline and created a second timeline. And in that second timeline, the home, the address ceased to exist. So we're in that second timeline. So the message is all about trying to remedy this situation, fix the timelines, merge them back together so that people who cease to exist in one start to exist again. So the person who sent the original letter back in the 80s or whatever, they lost someone important to them, like their wife or their child. And so they figured out that if they dropped this message into the river at this exact point in time, that it would reach someone and they would have a shot at re-merging two different timelines, and everybody who disappeared or everybody who died or everybody who's otherwise gone would be back, and he would get his child back or whatever. So that's what this is about. And there's no address in our timeline, but there is one in the other. And it's that loop of that bottle coming back and that message coming back that creates the bridge that will allow it all to repair itself.
All right.
Okay.
All right, R.A., bring us home. What do you got there?
Okay. So I think that we are dealing with a small pack of immortal beings. I think that, you guys are all familiar with Elizabeth Bathory, right? The blood countess from Hungary.
Yeah.
So the story about her is that, she used to bathe in the blood of young maidens to keep herself young. But there's always been a little bit of talk that she might have been a vampire, really, like one of the old school, like classical vampires. And that, she didn't really die when they said that they killed her, that she really got away and a peasant girl took the fall for it. So I think that Elizabeth Bathory, made her way to the New World and has been setting up shop in the same house and continuing the same sort of sadistic things that she was doing before. Whereas she would, take a child from the not too close neighboring, town, but she would get children and she would bring them there And she would complete these rituals, her and her partners in this house. And I think that the bottle came from one of the children escaped. And she's trying to escape, and she doesn't have any way, to get help to anyone. So she desperately, puts a message in a bottle and chucks it in the water, and she hopes that she can get help. And obviously, that didn't happen. Bathory and her team, descended on her and drug her back. And so now you fast forward to the future. Elizabeth Bathory, they change the address every so often, just kind of trying to it's part of their protocol to keep the heat kind of off of them a little bit. And they thought that they always covered their tracks perfectly, but in this instance they didn't. And this is going to be what an intrepid vampire hunter needs to kind of follow the clues back to the source and ultimately kill her and her clan. So.
All right. So RA's story has a prologue to it, very, very detailed and in-depth. All right. I'm going to move on to our next story. This one is probably my favorite of the week because it's a pretty fun story. It's a trap. Authorities in Texas were called to a family's home when they received an unexpected package containing 32 bags of marijuana. The Harris County Sheriff's Office said deputies were called to a Houston home after the residents reported receiving a package they hadn't ordered that was filled with cannabis. If it is yours, please contact the Harris County Sheriff's Office to claim it, the sheriff wrote in an Instagram post. Marijuana is illegal to possess in Texas. All right. So who would like to be the first to tackle this story? You could tackle it from the sheriff's. The sheriff is the protagonist. The people receiving the weed is the protagonist. The person sending it. And there's so many different, amazing, glorious different directions you could take this story.
I think I'm up for first again.
Kevin, what do you got?
Okay, so I think this is going to be a case of the receiver of the package finds themselves inadvertently in a whole world of trouble. So they get this package and they do their civic duty and they turn it in, but now the eye of suspicion falls on them. And so they start to finding that, not only are the police kind of following them and tracking them, but there's this sort of dark, seedy element of people out there who are kind of following them. And they're starting to become a little bit afraid and feel a little more threatened. And so as the story evolves, our protagonist and his family have to go on the run from both the police and the bad guys. And then ultimately this ends up in a sort of clash, a battle between good and evil, with Joe the plumber in the middle. Like, he's just this average, everyday guy, but he ends up taking down a huge drug cartel, and while also taking on the police.
All right. I'm glad to see Joe the plumber still kicking around.
Joe the plumber.
Okay. I think I got to go second this time. I think I went last time. So,
all right. What do you got?
So, it's a pretty common ploy for, drug traffickers to send drugs through the mail. They do it pretty commonly because they realize that there's not a lot of them that are going to get caught. So it's like acceptable losses. So I think that this is a situation where you have a pretty high level drug smuggling syndicate sending drugs obviously to the wrong home. They didn't mean to send it to this house. The stooge guy was a little high on his own supply and got the address wrong. And so they sent the drugs there. And the family doesn't really have anything to do with it. The sheriff is coming down hard. He wants to pretend like he's, hard on these things or whatever, because he can't have that in his county. And so you have a deputy, a sheriff who's kind of following the clues, figuring out what's happening. And then I think the story would climax with, finding out that the sheriff is actually involved in it. And that's why he's coming out so prominent. Oh, let us know. We'll come and find you. And that the sheriff is really, the kingpin of the drug cartel in the town. And that's the reason why he's glad, that the family turned it in. And, one of the clues that our deputy finds is that the drugs go missing from the evidence locker. And so he's trying to work his way through that whole scenario. So,
all right. Mr. Nick Thacker, you are the last one for this story. What do you have to say?
Well, I think what we've got here, quite obviously, is a heist within a heist. A pretty clever who is actually trying to not Jim. You just in your head like my story.
I'm shaking my head because I'm only getting about 1 out of every 5 words. Yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to do.
All right.
All right, Nick. Great story.
So now the game becomes we use Nick as the story prompt, and we figure out what it was he was trying to say.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our last story of the day. Bear invaders. A California homeowner snapped a photo of a bear spotted beating the heat with a dip in the home's backyard pool. The Claremont resident snapped a photo Sunday showing the bear lounging in the pool behind the house. Witnesses also captured video of the bear climbing a wall to walk on the ledge and rooting through trash in the neighborhood. Bears have been known to wander from the nearby San Gabriel Mountains into populated areas. A bear made headlines in 2019 when it climbed a wall outside Claremont home to sit on the ledge and eat a package of Twizzlers candy. All right, Nick has removed himself. Hopefully he's working out his audio issues, but we've got here, yeah. Thanks, Desiree.
Yeah,
Very.
Poor Nick.
We all feel that poor Nick.
We don't all feel that way. I think I got to go first this time.
All right.
All right. What do you got?
I think that this is the beginning of a Dr. Dolittle-esque story. I think that the homeowner has a teenage daughter, and that the teenage daughter, upon reaching the age of 16, has started to develop gifts. Animals are drawn to her. They feel comfortable with her. She's able to talk to them and help them. And I think that the news of her newfound skills, talents have spread far and wide in the forest out in California. And so I think that this bear was coming to talk to her about some kind of medical issue that he was having. And she told him, listen, I know it's hot. Just, find a way to cool down and I'll figure out what I can do to help you. So you're not obviously seen right next to the house because my parents would freak out. And so the bear took it literally and wandered his way down to the pool and took a soak. And, mom and dad came home and they saw that. And so, hijinks ensue. So I think we got a Dr. Dolittle type story going.
All right. So, Kevin, you want to go second and give Nick a little bit more time to study the story since he had to back out?
Yeah. So I think what we've got here is people are training bears to be like thieves and warriors. They're creating a guild of bears, and the bears are being trained to to infiltrate homes and scout ahead and that sort of thing. And this particular bear is kind of new to the training, so he sort of wandered off without being noticed. But what he ends up doing is alerting authorities to this bear troop, that is this guild of bears, by the way, that is in the area. And we discovered that bears have been used to do all kinds of nefarious things in this area for quite a while now. So, guild of bears.
All right, Nick, you get to be the last voice if we can hear you. The last voice and the last story of the day. What do you have for us about bear invaders?
I couldn't see it. Hold on. My internet's not going to work.
So what you've got basically is a couple of bears are going down into this city in California. They're coming out of the forest. One was taking a swim. There was a video of another one who sat on a ledge and apparently was eating Twizzlers. It's unclear if the bear brought the Twizzlers with him or if he procured the Twizzlers at the house where he was hanging out.
Fair point. Fair point.
So, Nick, what do you got?
Sorry. Yeah, just never mind. Just if you can hear me, just go. I can't. Everything was cutting out.
All right.
My internet's unbelievably poor right now for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
That's all right. Okay, so I am going to put up, there's our websites, jimheskett.com, kevintumlinson.com, nickthacker.com, rommcgee.com. But tell you what, if you just go to storyonthespot.live, there will be links to all that crap, everybody's websites and past episodes and how to subscribe to the show, yada yada yada. If you like our show, support our authors by visiting their websites and buying their books or just going to pirate them. They're all over the place. You don't really have to pay for anything anymore. Nobody else agrees with me, but he's like, no, I don't.
No, I agree. I had myself muted though, so everything I said got said to the void.
All right, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Have a good day. Bye.
All right. See you.